wawili
No, I always go against 2 or 3 myself. So
welcome back. You're watching Siasa Fiesta here on Morning Prime. Of course, we continue pace with our conversation. I'm holding court with Rigathi Gachagua, who's a member of Parliament Mathira, also Senior Counsel Dr. Otiende Amollo, who is a member of Parliament Rarieda, and we do have also Richard Ojonka with us as well. It's trying to establish what is the monkeys on the line with Wilson Sossion to continue our pace, but we'll also tell you more once we establish that connection with him as well. Before we took a short break, we were to continue with you, Otiende Amollo. I hope you've not lost your track of thought. Briefly, we went up on it and we buckle down now to party nominations and intra-party democracy.
I hope my brother Sossion did not bolt out. You know, there was a time he was...
He's actually in Bomet, you know, he's been campaigning very hard in Bomet. So
we're all campaigning. We're all campaigning. Everyone here is campaigning. You know, there's a time Brother Gachagua also bolted out on us, I think 3 weeks ago.
Oh, so the last time.
You need to start getting double assurances from their team that when they confirm, then they appear. Because I think it's also confusing both to the panelists and to the viewers. Because, for example, now somebody might think that Brother Gachagua is being pitted against the two of us, yet I obviously made an effort to get Brother Sossion as well. So, anyway, that's for their issue. Some clarification. First, my brother Gachagua here says that the allegations against the DP in terms of involvement in corruptions are all, you know, all hearsay. You know, there's no finding that has been made anywhere. Of course, there are many allegations, and we can list up to like 15. And they say that if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and looks like a duck, chances are it's a duck. And there would be no reason why there's an unfair number of allegations against only one person, unless there's merit to it. But let me give you 3 that I'm sure of. First, there's a man, now Lord rest his soul in peace, Adrian Muteshi, who had a tussle with the deputy president over some 100 acres of land. It was found as a fact by a court of law that the deputy president had unfairly taken this man's land. And so there's no question about a finding not being made. He was actually ordered to pay Muteshi. Muteshi died a bitter man. That is a fact. I will tell you secondly, that in respect of the Langata primary land, it so happened that I was the ombudsman then. I established as a fact, and there's a report which has never been challenged, which confirmed that the hotel that the deputy president owns, Weston Hotel, unfairly tried to grab the land that belongs to the primary school. A primary school where the majority of pupils are from the neighboring Langata slums area. That was found as a fact. And it is on account of that report of the ombudsman and the public pressure that that land was saved and it was fenced. And today, if you pass there, you will find a big signage that reads, this land belongs to Langata Primary School. Why would you need to go to those lands to protect a primary school? You know as a fact that when the deputy president was the minister for agriculture, there was a serious maize scandal which occasioned an inquiry that resulted in a report that has again never been challenged that implicated the deputy president. Now, I do not want to talk about ongoing court cases because I'm involved in the court case involving the Western land. You are aware that the KCAA has been tussling to recover the land that was improperly taken from it. The land which, by his own admission, the deputy president says he got and on which he has now built the Western Hotel. The case is ongoing. And without discussing the merits of the case, I can tell you, because that's in the public knowledge, that the delay in finalizing the case has been caused by the lawyers of the deputy president through endless adjournments. They do not want that matter to come to a determination. So when all this, and I'm only talking about what I know as a fact, I do not want to go to the other allegations. When all these surround you, it is fair to say that there's an aura of corruption-related matters around you, and that, therefore, is not an unfair statement. Secondly, let me disabuse 2 things that the deputy president spoke about and Brother Gachagua here is repeating. So the deputy president says that the problem with the police and NSIS is that they need to be made independent. they need to be yanked from the Department of Interior. Clearly, the Deputy President opposed the Constitution so much that he has not quite internalized its provision. He forgets that under this Constitution, the office of the IG is independent. He forgets that under this Constitution, the NIS, under Article 242, is a creation of the Constitution. Any entity that is created by the Constitution and is made independent does not require to independence from the executive. Because in fact, to say so is to say that in your view, the words of the Constitution are irrelevant. You do not require the executive to grant independence to any of these organs. The Constitution already does that. And the provisions are very clear. And what the Constitution does, and that is what he forgets, is that the organ to regulate the security sector, especially the police, the NIS, is a constitutional commission under Article 246, the National Police Service Commission. What has happened, and the DP was very much part of causing that to happen, is that the National Police Service Commission was disempowered. Okay? And it was disempowered, including through legislation that was brought to the National Assembly and was bulldozed. You remember the chaotic scenes when during the security laws amendments. You remember when it became so chaotic, and when Brother Gachagua then was quite happy to support them. When all of them were happy to support them. All those are efforts, and were efforts, to disempower the commission. Anybody talking about granting independence to NIS or to the IG is actually a person who does not appreciate the workings of the Constitution and the wordings. What should happen, and anybody who's serious about this should talk of re-empowering, now empowering the commission to do what it needs to do. Thirdly and lastly, about the judiciary. Again, whoever advises the DP on these legal matters has clearly failed to advise the DP. Article 173 of the Constitution creates the Judiciary Fund. And once that fund is created, the article is very clear. It provides that the Chief Registrar will give their estimates directly to the National Assembly. Treasury does not come in anywhere. That's Article 172, 2 and 3. It is then National Assembly to consider those estimates directly. And whatever the National Assembly has determined as the appropriate amount to the judiciary becomes a charge on the consolidated fund. And we intentionally did that to shield the judiciary from the executive. So you do not come and say that now you will enable the judiciary fund. They failed to tell him that for many years, some of us had been calling for enabling of the fund activation. But Parliament delayed, the National Assembly delayed in passing the act. The act to enable the fund was finally passed in 2016. But under the act, you needed regulations which were to be made by the Chief Justice. Those regulations were only finally made, and on 3rd of May 2019, they were published. So as we speak, the Judiciary Fund has been established and has been enabled. You do not need somebody who running for president to come and say, when you elect me, I will now enable the Judiciary Fund. That train long left the station. And the ball is squarely in the feet of the National Assembly. The presidency does not come in at all. The estimates are directly to the National Assembly. Once it's established, consolidated fund. So all these promises, as I said earlier, they are based on things that either the Deputy President does not understand or he has not been made to understand. They are hot air. They are made to look like when he is elected, he would give a break from the past, a past which is different from what he's promising, because most of them were already secured by the Constitution or already secured by the National Assembly.
Thank you. I needed maybe just to probe the Western Hotel. Of course, Sagan, you say this matter is in court, as it were. We don't want, of course, the sub judice also to be, drawn in this discussion. But the Western Hotel, looking at 0.17 hectares of land that it were, and is being challenged in court right now, and The entire extension of the other side of Langata Road was government's land, extending to Sunshine. It was going down, to the roundabout of Langata Road, coming up. This is where KCA had their stores on the other side of the road. And now we had also their office at the Wilson Airport. And the challenge was maybe going to the stores, crossing the road, and was becoming a challenge when that particular road was made to be a dual carriage, as it were, right now. So it was extremely difficult for the personnel to go roundabout, then go back to the stores. And that is how also they relocated to where they are currently, the KCA. My question is, first of all, because I think for the longest time we've been talking about Western Hotel. The entire land that we have there was the Kenya prisons' land. And people used to see, of course, the prisoners, early in the morning exercising. There was not really security at the end of the day. That also was now left now to the Langata Primary School, as it were. My question is, if we have land there, we have AMREF, which has a counseling center, so to speak, on the other side, or an educational research center on the other side. We have Sunshine also on the other side. Why are we challenging this particular? Is it the irregularity that really came up with the Western Hotel, as it were? Because all this is government land at the end of the day. What is the transaction? What is not so clear about it?
Let me answer that, and then you can continue.
Yeah. Is it fair with you, or you want to?
Let me first say, because he has.
Okay, then.
Let me say one. That area belonged to the Civil Aviation Authority. It was allocated to many people. The Deputy President is not the first allottee. He bought from somebody. President Moi's family was allocated Sunshine. So let us apply this thing across the board. If the land where Western sits, which is only 1.7 acres, it is wrong, let us also question Sunshine, which was land previously. It was government land but allocated to Sunshine. Nobody is challenging that because it belongs to the Moi. William Ruto was not allocated the land. He bought the land from somebody who was allocated. When you are buying land, he is a lawyer of great repute. You go to the Ministry of Land, you carry out a search. Then you are told the title is clean. You enter into a sale agreement. You purchase, you do a transfer. The government asks you to pay stamp duty because it is a legal transaction. The government collected stamp duty on that land. Yeah? And therefore, once the government has collected stamp duty on that land that you have bought, it is stamps the seal that is okay. The Deputy President has gone ahead to charge that land to a bank. Again, the government has collected stamp duty on that charge. So if the land where Western sits has been grabbed, let us also deal with Sunshine. The school that belongs to the Moi family, so that we deal with these things, all of them together. And during his tenure as ombudsman, I think he was also unfair. You have time to question 1.7 acres. Why didn't you take time to question the grabbing of thousands of acres belonging to the Mau Mau? Why didn't you find it necessary, to find out why 100,000 acres in Iwaso Kedong belonging to Mohoteto farmers and the Masai fellows at Suswa was grabbed? You did not take time to look at it. Yet you want to concentrate on 1.7 acres that somebody has bought legally. Yet there's so much land has been taken away from people, but you did not want to factor on it. And finally, because I want to deal with that matter of corruption, I don't want to talk about it again. The Honorable Nyonka has talked about medical equipment that was forced to governors. They were given medical equipment for lease. The price of leasing that equipment is 8 times the actual cost of that equipment. It's the biggest scandal in independent Kenya. The company that did that work is called Megascope. That company is owned by the Azimio gubernatorial candidate in Nairobi. Yet these Azimio people are not talking about it. So they just want to talk about corruption, or the Deputy President, or the Jubilee. We are saying that fellow Mwosho Moja, He has been cleaned, he has been sanitized. It's the biggest scandal. Governors are crying because they have been made to pay for that equipment. The company that has applied is known. The owner is a gubernatorial candidate. Nobody is talking about it. So what we are saying, Deba, let's be fair. Let us not use this issue of corruption to generally demonize people without evidence. You know, if we are talking about grabbing of land, yeah, let's do it properly. Let's go back, you know. Let's go back. Let's find out how come one family owns the land the size of Nyanza province in this country. Nobody's talking about it. So if we want to talk about things, let's have a proper discussion without casting aspersions on this side or that side, and let's be fair. You know, let's put all these things together so that we look at them in totality.
Right. Honorable Tina, we'll come to you. Can I hear from Onyonka? Yeah.
Thank you for Honorable Gachagua. I like what you're saying. Fortunately for some of us, we've never grabbed 10 acres. Again, you are confirming what we've been saying. The Ndung'u Commission, the Akiwumi Commission, these were commissions which actually brought out these historical injustices that have existed in our country for the last 56, 60 years about dispossessing people of their land, the issues that have been outstanding which are historical. For me, what I hope you'd be talking about here right now, Mheshimiwa, is saying if when Deputy President becomes the President of the Republic of Kenya, then he's going to come up and actually open up the books on the Ndung'u Commission and the Akiwumi Commission and the Kriegler Commission so that we can deal with the land question in Kenya. I don't hear you there. What we are doing is what we now call in modern language whataboutism. That if this one has stolen this much, why are you not criticizing that one who has stolen and leave my person who has stolen, but you are accusing my person unfairly? Number two, you have discussed the issue of the Moi family, and you have discussed the issue of the land matter and many other people. Dibal, I would want us to be fair. You know, this Moi family, they are not here to defend themselves. I wish, in fact, one of the reasons why I highly respect you is because you are facing Uhuru and telling him what you think is wrong with him, politically that is, and if there is any injustice that he has caused our country. I really like that, because for us who have been in the opposition, that is what we have been saying, that is what we are talking about, that is the disenfranchisement that we have fought over for the last 58 years. So thank you for coming to our side finally. All right, when you talk about land in Taita Taveta, thank you for raising the issue, because the Tavetas and the Taitas have been raising those issues historically. When you go to the Rift Valley, maybe that matter needs to be discussed, where, and it's a very sensitive issue. The large companies, the large farms which own land in the Rift Valley, and this is what has made us get into the position where we are now, where instead of us discussing issues about the elections, we plan how to kill each other because we believe a certain community has disenfranchised us and therefore we need restitution or compensation. So I want to say that, Honorable Gachagua, I thank you and the Jubilee side for being wonderful oppositionists, because you are discussing the issues that we've been discussing, and we've been raising those issues and we've been talking about them, and we have been saying this is what is wrong or what is going wrong with our country. And finally, me, I'm happy that you people are talking about these issues, and I hope that when your party leader is discussing, like I saw on his 10-point program, one of the issues that he'll be discussing is that we need to discuss the historical injustice issues, where we need to table the Akiwumi Commission, the Ndung'u report, and talk about the Kriegler Commission. He should in fact be talking about all the outstanding issues which in our country have made our country make some Kenyans believe that they are disenfranchised deliberately by actions of omission or commission, so that then we can now sit back and be honest with each other. And the same issue I was also raising is that, yes, I had you make a point that Honorable Ngatia is a member of Azimio, and therefore he is the one who has done this crooked deal. I know that Ngatia is not here to defend himself, but I hope that when you also find that members of UDA who have been part and parcel of this cabal of individuals who have been stealing billions and billions of shillings, you can also finger them. You can also say, you guys are in our party, but you have been doing this and that, and therefore let us talk about it honestly and sincerely. The problem with us fighting the vices of our country and the historical injustices and matters corruption and matters fairness and equity in this country, we are always not fair to each other. We lie to each other, we wait for elections to come, move on to the next 5 years, we then go back to the same notion again.
But to be fair, just one remark only. You say Moi is not here to defend himself.
Yes.
Gatia is not here to defend himself.
Yes.
Ruto is not here. So let's also not make
But
Ruto.
we have been discussing
No, but
Ruto as a politician. Those are not public figures.
Let's be very fair. If we cannot discuss the land taken by Moi in Sunshine, because he's not here.
No, I didn't say
we also cannot discuss what you are talking about.
Can I just butt in? Can I just butt in? We need to wrap up on this so that now at least let's hear
what
from
I'm saying, Honorable Gachagua, I was not saying we can't discuss it. I just said, unfortunately, Mzemo is dead. Number one. Number two, Ngatia is not here. I hope you'll be able to discuss himself. But
well,
you see, we'll meet up
on the road. Of course, when we're having those gubernatorial debates.
The point I'm making is that between me and him, we know that we are discussing Honorable Dr. William Ruto because he's a public figure.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the other two individuals are not public. But because Ngatia is in public now you can discuss his character.
Senior Counsel.
The difference between the level of conversation we are having and what Honorable Gachagua is bringing in is we are discussing the two presidential candidates. And we were discussing what the DP William Ruto, the allegations around him. But in response, Honorable Gachagua does not go to Raila, he goes to somebody who wants to vie for governor of Nairobi. I am glad he is not putting Raila and pitching him at the same level of scandals and skeletons as have been alleged of DP William Ruto, which is okay. If we were to go to that other level of who else at whatever level, you see, Honorable Gachagua, we would also bring you. The reason I've not brought it, you're also facing charges. I've not brought it because we are not discussing that level. We are discussing the two gentlemen facing each other at the presidential level. And that's why I think that Honorable Gachagua has to find skeletons at different lower levels because he cannot answer the main thing. Secondly, I want to tell you that, as I said, and I will stick to that, that I will not to go and discuss the merits of the case against Weston.
Yes.
Because the rendition that Honorable Gachagua gives is exactly what's in contestation. It is not true, for example, that the Honorable William Ruto was not part of the company that bought the land. Because one of the allegations is that there were common directors who bought the land at the time and subsequently purported to sell the land to the second company. Common directors with same addresses and all that. But I don't want to go into that. Let's just say that it's in contestation. It's one of the contested matters.
But the
point is, if, as Gachagua says, William Ruto was so clear that he's innocent, why delay finalization of the case? If you are so innocent on a matter, you want it quickly finalized so that it does not hang over you when you are facing a presidential election. That is a point to ponder. Thirdly, and Honorable Gachagua did not get this, I indicated that when I was ombudsman, we investigated the Langata primary grabbing. We did not investigate the Weston case. And the attempted grabbing of Langata primary is because there was a complaint that was raised by the public and NGOs. All the other issues, including the Sunshine, including Weston and all the others, were never brought to us. But I like Honorable Gachagua because I think he's been around power for a long time. He started, he was at DC, he was PA to His Excellency right now, he's been around power. And so he seems to know a lot. And this a lot that he knows, he should not come and share it in a talk show like this. He should put a detailed complaint one by one. Even now, I'm not the ombudsman. But take it to the ombudsman. Let them start investigating it from that point. Or bring it to parliament so we investigate it. You see, the rest of us, as we've been looking from outside the fence for about 60 years, so we just keep hearing 100 acres, 10 acres. And we've not even had an opportunity for anybody in the vicinity of my village or my constituency to be accused of grabbing 60 by 60 meters. So for us, all this is so grand and just looks like a movie. But those who know about it, like Honorable Gachagua, should really just come up and put it on the table. Then we can actually start discussing about it. So for all I'm saying, and all we have been saying, is that as between the two gentlemen running for presidency right now, even if you don't go to any other level, one seems to have an unfair amount of scandals around him, which some have been determined, some have not been determined. So that if you are looking on a pedestal of corruption and the fight of corruption, you find that the scales are heavily tilted in favor of Raila Odinga and to the disfavor of the current deputy president. Yes.
Right, Honorable Tiendo, just on that bit as well, I'll ask you, because sometimes it's good to make it very limpid and clear whether this Western Hotel case is a case of land grabbing or a willing selling, willing buyer, a case that went a bit awry. Because of Muteshi's case, of course, it's purely land grabbing, and that was given back to Muteshi, as it were, at the end of the day. So I wanted just to know, because the allegations has been this land has been grabbed.
Let me tell you.
What is the current state, so that Kenyans know, did he grab, or it was he entered it as a willing seller, willing buyer arrangement? Very briefly.
Yes.
Then we wind up on it, yes.
It is a case of land grabbing. Okay? And it is the land grabbing that is now being unraveled, initially through the National Land Commission and now in court. No land is ever grabbed in this country that does not involve someone signing away the papers, that does not involve someone in the land's office signing away the land. So it's not a question of who signed what. It is a question whether the land was legitimately and lawfully acquired. All grabbed land are usually signed off. They signed off, if it's a public entity, by collusion within the public entity at the land's office, and that is the situation here. That is why KCA is saying they never gave out their land lawfully and they want it back.
Right.
We still I'd like to tell senior counsel here, the fabricated charges brought against me were supposed to intimidate me. The way he's trying to say we are not talking about it, I don't shy away. And this has been happening. The use of the criminal justice by Uhuru Kenyatta to intimidate people from the mountain. I was threatened myself that if I don't abandon William Ruto, I'll find it very difficult, and it's been difficult. But I'm a very firm person, and the president knows that, and I cannot be easily intimidated. The charges were brought against us to force us into submission, to go and kneel before the president. And we are saying the president is a human being. He's not God. We cannot kneel before him. In the fullness of time, all this nonsense will come to an end. Because even today, the prosecution has never given us evidence against us. The matter was put later in the year because there is nothing. And it was meant to cow us so that we don't speak publicly. We seem to have integrity issues so that we are intimidated the way they have intimidated the Honorable Weluke. You people, come to Jubilee, we wind up your cases, which is a lie. When you are convicted, you have appeal. It's a court process. And as we have let Weluke go because the matters on him are so heavy.
The pressure is too much.
If somebody has really promised to sort it out, he came to us and we said, my brother,
so it's not really the scruples within UDA, it's actually a matter of the state prevailing.
He was called and he came to us and said, my brothers have been told, if I go to Jubilee, this matter of mine can be looked into. I don't know how. I asked him how. I don't understand, because you have a matter on appeal, it's being heard, the courts will determine. But if these guys can sort it out for you and you are free, the burden on you is very heavy, we let you go freely, Rosafi. I'm saying the use of the criminal justice system, and that's why they keep on saying all the people around William Ruto have cases. Yes, it's deliberate. It's deliberate. Everybody has been focused. You saw the other day, Mithika Linturi, in Eldoret. Slip of the tongue, he talked about Madoadoa. DCI officers were sent from Nairobi. They surrounded his hotel. They arrested him. He was driven to Nairobi. He was put in custody for 3 days. He was taken to court. Finally, he was let go. The former prime minister has used the same words in Wajir. Yeah? No similar action has taken place. Same words, same context. Linturi said, hatutaki madoadoa hapa. And all he meant is, we want a UDA zone, we don't want other parties. And it's fair. The former Prime Minister said in Wajir, here we don't want madoa-doa, tunataka 6-piece. But there is one law for Mithika Linturi, because he's allied to William Ruto. But there is another law for Azimio. You know, nobody went to arrest the former Prime Minister and put him in custody for 2 days. That's what we are saying, that you cannot say people with Ruto have cases. All these cases are targeted at people with Ruto. The other side is free. That's what I'm telling Onyonka here, is that they are talking about corruption. But when is their candidate, it's fine. There's no problem. Yeah. But for other people, you know, them, they must be pushed around. What we are saying is, let's stop using the criminal justice system to do politics. And I want to say here, let me tell you what is happening in the Mount Kenya region. These guys cannot get candidates. Nobody is interested, and they are using force to force people. Charles Kibiro, the senator for Kirinyaga, defected from Jubilee and paid 500,000 to join the UDA. Sunday morning, he was summoned to State House. We are going to put cases against you. He has chickened out. But he knows even if he chickens out, if he goes to Jubilee, he's finished. You know? And that is the reality of what is... I found even the head of public service. He's calling members of parliament and they're asking him, where have you been for the last 4 years? Why didn't you call us when our projects were stored? You are calling us now, asking us to go to Jubilee. The reality is hitting on President Uhuru Kenyatta, that the use of criminal justice system to intimidate leaders cannot work. And the chickens have come home to roost. The hour of reckoning is now. Everybody is listening to Wananchi and going to where Wananchi are. Right. And you'll tell me by next week, you know, they cannot even get candidates to run on Jubilee in the Mount Kenya region.
Right. And politics is all about perception, Honorable Onyonka, before I come to you, because even listening just to Rigathi as well, your case with also, of course, of that allegations of corruption, the bank also is siding with you at the end of the day. That is Rafiki Bank. We can see if you flip over also in the Star, Anwai Goro, we have also Governor Doda, Gudana. Right now we have Tawi as well, who EACC is after. Is it because, as I'm saying, politics is all about perception, that now they've come to the other side? That's why now the EACC is particularly intent on them over issues of corruption at the end of the day. Then as we're winding up on that particular question of corruption, I want to also ask, EACC has come to the fore. They've said we don't have money to conduct the integrity test, which is a very integral process of making sure all the candidates or all the aspirants on the candidates that will pass through the rigmarole of testing the integrity test according to Chapter 6 of the Constitution for them to be given that certificate at the end of the day. It appears all of the candidates or the aspirants that we are talking about here have, in one way or the other, allegations hanging over them. Otieno Amollo, we cannot also run away from the fact that we know Right Honorable Raila Odinga has been accused, allegations, this is what I'm saying, with the kazi kwa vijana when he was the PM at the end of the day. This is bound to also surface along the way, I know, right? Also maybe in the issue of the Dungu report, his name has been mentioned. We'll also get clarity on that at the end of the day. So if we were to take corruption and say this is the hurdle that you have to pass through to make sure that you have been squeaky clean as an aspirant, as a candidate, none of us here, or none of the aspirants that we're talking about will really pass muster. So EACC, IBC should be very, very tight on the integral process to make sure that every person that is going through the gamut of making sure that you don't have any allegations or corruption or court cases, then you're not given that particular ticket or that particular certificate.
Thank you.
Do you agree with me, first of all?
I completely agree with you. But you see, in our country where we are today, we have reduced the fight against corruption to become a fight against William Ruto and Raila. The truth is, and I speak with a very heavy heart, I do not think that our country is going to move anywhere if we are not going to deliberately, physically or otherwise, have systems, structures, and institutions which are going to be institutions which function to make sure that we stop the carnage of public fund stealing and all the corruption that is going on. Very unfortunately, we are only discussing the two guys who are running, the two candidates. And yet you can cascade this thing all the way to the county governments. You can, I mean, the truth about, Dibal, the truth about our country, in fact, the corruption being touted on William Ruto and Raila Odinga, for me, is in fact a matter that we should not even discuss. Because the amount of money that is being stolen on a yearly basis, from the Auditor General's reports last year, we were at 640 billion shillings. And yet, every time this matter is being raised, then you hear what Honorable Gachagua is saying. We have, oh, you people have weaponized corruption. All right, you are using the judiciary to. I looked at the report on governors, 3 governors who are. Waiguru is there. You have another one, and of course, one of the governors actually comes from our side. The truth is, this country has been raped by individuals scheming, planning, organizing to steal public resources. You can cascade this from the national level and bring it down all the way to the village. And instead of us giving it a serious discussion and a serious debate where we are even coming up with proposals, including ones I was reading somewhere where somebody was saying we can introduce the death penalty. Countries like Malaysia, countries like Singapore did not stop corruption by simply having TV shows and us debating and saying these are the guys who are corrupt and these are the guys who are not corrupt. The situation we have right now in our country is that we need a president who's going to come up and say there is a limit as to how much you can steal from public coffers. We have to have leadership which is sincere and genuine. What do you mean a limit? There has to be a stoppage. Right. So we are condoning. I withdraw the term limit. Please. There has to be a stoppage to how we utilize public funds, and there has to be a stoppage how we misuse public funds. And yet, in reality, here we are discussing this 1 acre of land, and yet we know that there are politicians and people of wherewithals who have acquired 150,000 acres of land, who have gotten into agreements which basically have disenfranchised the Kenyan person. Thank you. So we, Dibal, are engaged in a debate where we are talking about William Ruto, and we are talking about Raila, and we are talking about Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, in terms of the corruption and everything, and yet if you look at right now the debate that is happening at the national level, we are not engaged in genuinely and honestly coming up to a solution on how we sort out how money is being stolen from the national level to the grassroots. Right, thank you. Honorable Otieno Mola, I'll give you a chance, then we see they've gone bare knuckle. Ruto have dared the president to actually let Raila, off the way so that he can actually deal with him, mundo kumundo, as we heard from Moses Wetangula at the end of the day. But I wanted just to hear from Otieno Molo. First of all, I raised the issue of kazi kwa vijana. On those allegations, and the EACC, they don't have money to also just make sure they carried out the exercise, which is a constitutional requirement that every person should go through, that process to pass muster. If integrity should be, the name that can be alongside their names at the end of the day.
As far back as 2012, again as the ombudsman, I made an effort to ensure that anyone who sought to be elected would pass that integrity test. And one of the things I did is I wrote to EACC, I wrote to the prosecution authority, I wrote to virtually everyone to just give me first a list of those who had ever been charged with any corruption-related matter and convicted. And they gave me their list. Then I wrote to all the institutions, including Parliament, in terms of reports that faulted any person. And I collected all these reports and came up with a list of 36 individuals who, in my view, would not or ought not to be cleared to vie for any position on account of having been found. There are some who had been found culpable and then they appealed, so those ones we removed. We were talking about those who have been found culpable either in court or by a competent body and was not challenged. Two of the people in that list was Sonko, and the other one was Ferdinand Waititu, for very obvious and good reason. Two things happened. One is that for the next 2 weeks, there were demonstrations in front of my office, then which is now the current DP's office, were up there by Sonko and Waititu's people calling me names, and and the demonstrators were every day being escorted by the police, so that I could not even access the office. Then the second thing that happened is the IEBC, to whom I had made the recommendation for very clear reasons, took the position that it is not their business to determine the integrity of any candidate, that let the electorate decide. If the electorate think that you have integrity issues, then they will not elect you. If they elect you, then it means they don't think so, which was the wrong move to take. But the third interesting thing that happened is that the ESCC, which had given me much of the dossier initially, themselves disowned it. They said, as we are not part of that, we have no business vetting anyone, we are not competent. So it became a free-for-all, and that is how it's been to date. I can tell you, Dibal, that if we were to take the integrity test seriously, a lot of our current colleagues, either in cabinet, in the National Assembly, or in the Senate, or even governors, would not be qualified in those positions.
Yes.
And we do not take it so seriously, so that even when we debate here, even at the highest level of the presidency, it becomes a light debate in terms of, it's witch hunting, it's, all that. Because Kenyans themselves don't take integrity seriously. Okay? When you give the example, and my brother here says, the war on corruption has been weaponized, and you've just given the example of the 3 governors. If that was true, of the 3 governors, you see 2 of them are associated with Azimio. Only one is associated with the other side. So even on a balance of these 3, how would you say it's weaponized against those who are actually in Azimio? The truth is, instead of focusing on integrity, we focus on counter-allegations. That if you say, somebody has been accused, you say, no, but who else has done this and done that, to reduce that integrity test. When we talk of legitimate findings by competent bodies, then people bring up, like you have just brought up, the Ndungu report accused Raila, there's this question of kazi kwa vijana. I want to dare you, if you look at that Ndungu report, there is nowhere where any allegation has been made against the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. Nowhere. The shrouded issue, which is not in the report and is usually touted, is the land, the molasses land. Yes, how was it acquired? And yet the molasses land was bought legitimately
in an auction.
In an auction, including funds borrowed from South Africa. The fact that some people from the region chose for ownership to contribute like a few shillings here and there, and none has ever complained, is not an issue of grabbing. Kazi kwa vijana, there's no allegation that has ever been brought that is concrete anywhere. It is usually brought for convenience because you can't find anything, so you try to cling to things, that are neither here nor there. Look, you are talking about words. When Mithika Linturi spoke in Uasin Gishu and used the word madoadoa, the context was totally different from the context in which the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga used those words. Mithika was referring to a very dangerous thing, referring to people in the region who do not subscribe to the political ideology, which is a very dangerous thing. And that's why he didn't even bother to try and explain it. Raila was using it in the context of 6-piece voting. And that's why he took the courage to apologize and explain the context immediately. You see? But now, it comes to words like rigging. You know that when Sabina Chege used some generalized words without even talking about it as clearly as Moses Kuria did, Moses Kuria has not been summoned. And it has given him the courage to now come and start doing things which are much more dangerous. Because they are losing out, they have now started to work to do things in the context of poverty of words, like talking about circumcision. like saying you can now not elect somebody who's not circumcised. That is the poverty that they have come to. You talk about circumcision without even focusing first on the person. You want to disenfranchise and say all the communities in this country who do not practice something like this are ineligible. And you know, you're not just talking about men, you're also talking about women.
Yeah.
And so inherently you're suggesting that again, those who don't circumcise women are equally unqualified. The bottom line is this. When people start running away from accountability and say it's witch hunting, then they are running away from the integrity test. If it was otherwise, my brother here would not be here debating. If it was the earlier regime, and if it was really witch hunting, you'd be taken, you'd be denied bail, you'd be behind bars. That would be witch hunting.
We're winding up.
Senior counsel is having...
you prepare your winding thoughts as well?
Yes. Senior counsel is having a double speak. He says the institutions charged with fighting corruption are independent. At the same time, he says EACC gave him those and then they disowned it because they are not independent. That's what we are saying. There have been strings pulled, you know, leave that thing because they are not independent. That's what we are saying. If they were truly independent, they would have stuck with him. And that's why we are saying those institutions have been taken over and weaponized. And we are saying, just the way he is saying that allegations against Raila Odinga are generalized. Mumia sugar, molasses, kazi kwa vijana, we are saying in equal measure. The allegations against the deputy president are just mere generalities. And that is why he is asking me why I don't talk about Raila. Me, I don't want to demonize people when I have no facts. I think it will be wrong for me to come here and accuse the Prime Minister of having stolen this and that because some allegations have been made. That's what we are saying, as we are above board. But then allegations are made and they decide somebody is corrupt and they have no evidence. They are just generalities. You know, many things have been said about Raila Odinga. You know, about Mumia Sugar, about kazi kwa vijana. But ourselves, we have not taken it to go on the platform and keep on talking about it because the rules of natural justice, he is a senior counsel. You should not be condemned and heard. You must be given an opportunity, you know, to be heard. What is it? What do you have to say about it? So let's deal with the issues. Let us look at the programs that the two candidates have. And we interrogate that process.
Thank you. 30 seconds. I'm being hounded out of the studio right now.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I think the challenges of our country are weighty. The solutions need to be more clearer. I would hope that this coming election should be able to make Kenyans choose a president who will be able to seriously sit down, look at a good team that is going to work with him and make sure that we solve the problems. And for me, the issue of integrity, corruption, and mismanagement of public funds, all the way, take it from the top to the bottom, is a matter that must be handled and as soon as possible.
Thank you, Richard. Senior Counsel, briefly.
As we now near the elections, the options are as clear as night and day. And when you see one side starting to degenerate into name-calling, into threatening other communities, into demonizing ethnicities and all, it is a sign of desperation. But it is a sign that that is the side to be totally avoided. If we want to have a proper country where integrity is respected, where we can focus on food security and all, the choice is clearly with Azimio and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga.
Thank you. You have 30 seconds.
Thank you very much. Let's go for a good contest, but let everybody know what you start will befall you. When President Uhuru encouraged people to sing Yote Yawezekana in State House, the same was sung against him in the public. When you call other people thieves, you'll be called a thief. So let's some people not have a moral high ground that they can use insults against some people and they think people will keep quiet.
Thank you.
What you said is what will happen.
Thank you.
But let's have a campaign of issues, the way we have debated here with sobriety. Let us go and sell our programs. Ultimately,
thank you.
Jido Matiba said, let the people decide.
let the people decide. Of course, thank you very much, Richard Onyonka. Thank you for coming through. Senate Council Otiende Molo, thank you for coming through as well. Rigathi Gachagua, thank you for coming through. Apologies for Wilson Sosyono who couldn't make it, I think, with the connections that went Ori as well. But nonetheless, I think it's been a very sober discussion. We've not even broached the issue that we wanted to discuss about, the party nominations, even as scratch. And I know today you're resuming Parliament. That will be also a topic at hand. This is an election amendment bill and also the campaign financing bill as well. We'll broach that issue next week as well. And I wanted also to ask that, Deputy President had said that I'll protect the interest of Uhuru Kenyatta. What are these interests are we talking about here? Please, next week kuja.
They are massive.
Next week kuja, we finish this unfinished business as well.
They are massive.
They are massive.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your valid company. You've been watching Siasa Fiesta here on Morning Prime. Morning Prime continues apace with Jesse Rogers on Matters Academia. Thank you for your valid company again.